Democracy and its favorite as well as strange myths. Everything in life generates its own myths. I use the word myths in this context to mean certain assumptions that are very strongly held but are not subjected to rational scrutiny and verified in terms of their reality, relevance, or truthfulness. But these myths are very strongly endorsed, firmly embraced, and tenaciously held on to. And in fact, the individuals who harbor these myths begin to feel enraged and threatened if their myths are in any way questioned. So, when I talk about myths, I do not use that word in a light-hearted manner or purely negative manner. Myths serve as local points or focal points of great personal passion, intensity of feeling, and sometimes aggression of reaction. So, democracy and some of its favorite myths and anomalies. I must first of all share with you or reveal to you the context in which I undertake this reflection. It always amazes me and sometimes, of course, saddens me as to why some people who attach their loyalties to a particular party, never mind which party, they react so violently. They react with great venom and gall against anything that you say, which in their opinion goes against the interests of their party or interests of their ideological bloc. Furthermore, I ask the question, what is actually their position within this behemoth, this huge gigantic structure to which they seem to attach absolute passion and on whose interests that they remain vigilant, ever ready to launch into an attack like a wild animal prowling somewhere in the background, ready to pounce on you. What is it that constitutes their motivation? What is it that sustains them? What do they gain from it? Is it material gain? Is it psychological gain? Is it some gain in terms of a boost, artificial or otherwise, of their identity? What exactly is it that motivates them to play the kind of, pardon me for having to say this mean-minded role that from any third-party point of view would constitute a downright frontal insult to their own personal dignity? If you behave in the manner in which some of these people, who perhaps are self-styled defenders of their party interests, or maybe they also have party accreditation, if a third person other than they and I were to look at it from an objective point of view, it will sadden that person that people who are apparently educated, who seem to be in the know of things, can actually stoop to this level of reacting often on inadequate grounds, perhaps even more on mistaken grounds, in a state of excessive vituperance and negativity, and above all, displaying without any sense of inhibition extreme cultural boorishness, cultural distaste, cultural depravity. The language they use, the sentiments that they splash, the stance that they take, the selective approach and their eagerness to caricature you and misrepresent you, misunderstand and misrepresent you in all that you are saying, and a resolute refusal to see good intentions, if any, that could be animating or motivating you. What is it that actually constitutes this kind of personal culture? After all, people who participate in this cult of violence and corruption, moral corruption, are also human beings. It's only because I care for them that I undertake this reflection. Otherwise, I can just dismiss them out of hand and say that they're all stupid, they're, why should I bother? I have to bother. They're my fellow human beings. I've been a teacher. For a teacher, everybody is relevant. Everybody deserves my attention. Everybody needs my love. Even if they cannot accept it, I still have a duty to extend my affectionate attachment to them. Pardon me, I have to. So that's the reason why I ended. Now, I think people of a certain character type, and when I use this concept character type purely from a psychological perspective. Psychology understands individuals in terms of certain character types. For example, there is a type that is recognized in behavioral psychology called the addictive personality. The addictive personality, that is to say, certain types of people more than others are prone to get into addictions, whether it is addiction to hard drugs or addiction to alcohol or addiction to various other forms of substance abuse, or even addiction to sex, addiction to power, even addiction to excessive religiosity, which they push to the irrational extremes. So you can actually understand that persons of certain character types, are called typologies, they will be prone to this kind of addiction. So I'm dealing with recognized categories. I'm not invoking something in order to discredit somebody. This is pure scientific thought. So how do we understand this character types that gets into this kind of vocation, if you like, a special mission, if you like, in which they seem to take a lot of deep, personalized interest, invest a lot of their energy. After all, it's not easy to scan through all the thousands of videos that are circulating and then pick and choose only that which is negative, or pick and choose what is positive and convert them into what is negative. All this takes a lot of intellectual energy. What is it that sustains them? Now, I think what sustains them is a myth. That's why I introduced the word myth. What is that myth? The myth is that these self-styled defenders of a particular party, or these accredited spokespersons of a party, in other words, in broad terms, the defenders of certain political vested interests, they have some kind of a share in this national cake, or as the term now goes, the national alua. Actually, this is an illusion. These people who are always on the prowl to defend the vested interests of their party, seeing enemies to their party where none exists, as in my case, I don't think I want to be an enemy to any party. Each party will look after itself. It's none of my business. I'm committed to the people of India, irrespective of all labels, differences, discriminations, etc. I know only one category, and that is Indian. And whatever, in my opinion, affects the health, wholeness, the integrity and dignity of a national life, the welfare of citizens, especially belonging to the lower rungs of the social ladder, that I consider to be my domain. And every insight that I share with you, every advocacy that I prefer, every stand that I take is always taken with a direct or indirect reference to that neglected section of the society. So if I have an inclination to support or vote for a party, my main concern is whether or not this party concerned has a commitment to improve the life conditions of the poor and the marginalized. And any party, doesn't matter which party, any party which is sincerely committed to the welfare of the people of India, particularly with a preferential option for the poor and the downtrodden, my vote is for them. There's no question about it. Okay, so the illusion is that people who defend a party and its interests and defend it in the most vituperative, violent, aggressive, belligerent fashion are somehow people sitting at the dinner table sharing the banquet. This is never the case. They are being used as instruments, and they are only instrumental value. And as someone who respects human dignity, I have to tell them that it is bad for their personal dignity to allow themselves to be used in this manner. Why do I say that they are being used? I tell you why. If you serve as the spokesperson of a party, either visible nationally in terms of the discussions that take place in the electronic media, or the kind of chota defenders of party, thousands and thousands of them who are sprinkled in the social media network sites. They are very, very chota people, but they also behave as though they are really the bosses of this party and that party. Now, why do I say that they are mere instruments, they're tools? I'm not using the word stooge deliberately, because they have absolutely no right to decide what they should say. They have no choice regarding what they should accept, what they should reject. They are not free to see and accept what is true and beautiful and good in anyone. If somebody is taken or mistaken to be not in the camp of the party that they are required to defend and promote, even if that person is a neutral person, they are bound, they are obliged to attack him. It's not a personal choice. They have absolutely no personal freedom in this matter. The first thing that people of this category have to do is to renounce their personal freedom, and with that also abjure their personal dignity. And I think the plight of such individuals is really very pathetic. And what makes it even more pathetic is the fact that they don't realize how pathetic their situation is. It is this that fills my mind with pathos whenever I see somebody reacting to insights that I provide, I believe from a position of objectivity. I have absolutely no vested interest in bringing party X, Y, or Z to power. At any rate, I am nobody. I am just a retired old hand. I have no connection with any party. I don't even get out of my room. If anyone examines my ADR, my call directory, you'll be astonished to find that I don't make a single phone call. I'm not in touch with anyone. I read books, I reflect, I try to be in touch with the developments in my country, and I comment. That's all that I do. And I think this is known to many people. In spite of this fact, there are people who think that I'm a mortal enemy to X, Y, and Z, this party, that party, and they think they have a duty to attack me, tear me apart. And having done that, they sit back and just pat themselves on the back. They think they have done a wonderful. Now, I wonder, what is their personality like? What is their subjective state like? I really cry over the state of slavery, the bondage in which they, by their own choice, live, which is pathetic. So, what underlies all this is the democratic myth that those who defend their party share the power of that party. The truth is farthest from this. They have nothing to do with this national banquet, which is set apart only for a handful of people. But this kind of vague notion that I'm of that party, I'm a defender of that party, and therefore I too have a place at the banquet table, a chair at the banquet table, is the greatest myth. It's the most pathetic presumption that an individual can suffer them, and the price that is paid to harbor this illusion is far too much. It's a corruption of one's personality. I believe that even if the whole world is given to you on a platter, in exchange for corrupting your personality, you should not do it. Because at the end of the day, Your destiny is your own. And all these politicians and the jamborees that they maintain and the dramas they play, it has nothing to do with your personal destiny. After all, if you are a Hindu, you are trained to think that this world is a place of Maya. Nothing adds up to anything. There are eternal truths. Ultimately, the truth belongs to Brahma. And from that perspective, we are all one. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, the idea that ultimately reality is one. Where is all that gone? I just wonder. In fact, much of what I'm saying is to try and reinforce this idea that ultimately we are all one. Perhaps I'm more of a Vedantin or more of an Advaitin than many of my Hindu friends are. What beats me hollow is how come a party that professes to be the self-appointed defender of Hinduism work completely against the philosophical tenets of Hinduism? Because if you go by the philosophical perspective of Advaita, non-dualism, how can you create a political, ideological platform of divide and rule and spread hatred among people in order to chop up a society, in order to control and exercise maybe permanent control over the affairs of a people? So there is a frontal contradiction between what you seem to believe and what you actually do on the ground. What am I to believe? I can only go by what I see happening on the ground, but I tenaciously hold on to the philosophical core of Hinduism to the limited extent that I understand, because that gives me a lot of encouragement, a lot of hope. I believe that if not today, tomorrow, or someday in the future, this philosophical light, the spiritual light, which shines bright from the core of Hinduism, will prevail. Therefore, I have to soldier on, trying my level best according to the graces that God gives me from time to time, to love even my detractors. Not that I have reached a level of adequate spiritual evolution and therefore the inner composure and fortitude required for it. I'm trying my level best, but sincerely I feel a sense of deep pathos about these individuals who are lovely people in their own rights, but who somehow are forced to degrade themselves and forego the freedom available even to a man on the street to be true to himself if he chooses, to accept what is good, and to see that the grass is still green under their feet. The moment you lose that freedom, life ceases to be worth it. So I weep over the plight of people who are obliged to be wading in this kind of muck all the time. Let it not happen. I appeal to those who are in this plight to get out of it. Respect yourself. You are a beautiful soul. You can do much better, even by yourself. And nothing that you're doing at the moment will give you either any sense of personal dignity or enduring satisfaction. And surely when the evening of your life comes, you will despise yourself and it will become impossible for you to endure the life that you have lived. And that is something I do not wish to happen to anyone under the sun, much less to you. Jai Hind.